Welcome to the Dating Unsettled show where we dare to date differently. I am so happy to be here with the one, the only Danielle, or as known on Instagram, Danielle. Hey Danielle, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here. Anybody who is watching on YouTube, that's youtube.com/JoyOfodu, or you can search Dating Unsettled on YouTube. You'll see Danielle's bright, shining face if that's accessible to you. If not, you can hear me. Danielle and I are both chilling. It's giving living room, studio. It's giving very relaxed for both of us right now. Danielle, how are you feeling about dating in this moment?
Well, it's this is like the first podcast I've ever been on, like talking about it. So I've created some content, but this is the biggest deep dive.
I'm glad you're here, and you're brave to do so.
I
We
trusted
specifically
you as the host.
That's good. We specifically wanted to talk about dating and disability and some of the thoughts that you've had around your lived experience, and I'm sure thoughts that others have had around your lived experience as a disabled person. But even outside of that, just your own dating perspectives. I find you so funny. I was glad that we connected on Instagram. So that's where we first met. We talked about both being Disney adults, which is super cute. You found me through Tiana's Bayou Adventure, which I hosted that experience for Disney last year. But then this year, I've just been watching all of these like reels that you release. Your short form comedic timing is good. Your ability and like just willingness to make fun of yourself, not just making fun of people who don't understand your disability, but making fun of yourself as a disabled person, how you navigate things, I think is freaking hilarious. There's some good stuff in there. How do you approach comedy and making reels around dating?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much. And I love your comedy reels as well. But so when it comes to dating, I feel like the most like so I'm single now. But
Okay.
like, dating, like a lot of people, like especially now, like they talk about how like rough it is. And it definitely is. Like I'm sure we'll get into that later. And dating with a disability is, I always say you need like thick skin, but I
Mm.
think there is a lot of like fun to be had, like if you can like laugh at certain moments, and like even like just the simple disasters that you can laugh about. Like honestly, like I always just say like to people, like just try to get a story if nothing else of like like going out, like and so I have gotten plenty of material, which has been helpful as I've kind of started this content creation journey.
I swear. Okay, so we have similar experiences because when I started producing reels or funny videos around dating, it was the same thing. And it's not that I was going for the content. I genuinely wanted to find love and did find love and almost love and all this type of stuff. But that experience of just dating people with such quirky personalities and takes and experiences, it's instant comedy, just produces stuff and you have to be able to laugh at your pain. Okay, so let's dive right in. Is there anything that you care to share about the disabilities that you have or live with?
Sure. So I was born with a muscle disease. But like as far as disability goes, it is a physical disability. But a new term that I actually found just probably like within the last year is like dynamic disability, which means like sometimes it's
Mm,
apparent or visible and then sometimes it's not. Like so recording this podcast now, if people were just saw like a flash of it, they wouldn't know that I'm disabled. But if you saw me get out of the chair, or you saw me using my mobility scooter, then you would know I was disabled. So we can dive into a bit later, but as far as like setting up like a dating profile, for example, I have to kind of weigh how much I want to disclose and when and how,
yeah.
so that kind of, and even just in life in general, just knowing when to potentially conceal or reveal, that part of myself.
So you call it dynamic disability, meaning like sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's John Cena, sometimes it's not John Cena. Okay,
Yeah.
do you disclose it on your profiles? Like do you feel the need? First, do you feel the need, but then secondly, do you actually put in your profiles, "Hi, I'm Danielle. I have a muscle." Like do you feel the need to lead
Yeah.
with that?
So it's interesting. So when I first started, I didn't. So I've like evolved because when I first started, I'm like I wanted to be as much like natural as possible, and in real life, I don't just be like, "Hi, I'm Danielle, I'm disabled," like like, and it's like I try
Yeah.
to like work it naturally into conversation. Like so, like for me in the beginning, like
Yeah.
naturally would be like if we're going out, like okay, now I'll tell you why I'll get out of a chair slow or why I have a limp or something. But it didn't really feel relevant and necessary before that, even though I wasn't naive to think it wouldn't be a factor.
Sure.
But so I went with that way a while and I had like a text in my notes app that I would just like copy and paste like disclaimer because
Stop.
no,
You have a
yes.
notes. Oh my God. Okay. Do you mind my asking what the note says?
No, okay, but I will reveal I've condensed instances. So now I just have it on my profile because it saves me a lot of time. So I'll say this
Okay.
though. Like, so the reason I'll tell you the note after, but
Girl,
so
I'm sitting here like, what is the script? Does it
yeah,
have
no,
emojis? Like, what are
no
you
emojis.
copying?
No emojis. But I should maybe that's why. Well, so okay, so the script used to be and then I'll tell you the condensed. So it used to be saying like, okay, so like I would be waiting already for like the talk of going out. And then
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, so before we go out, this is just me from memory. I will just say that I have a disability. I have a muscle disease that I've had my whole life. So if we met, you may notice I get out of a chair slower or I have a limp. So I say I can, get really good seats at concerts and skip the lines at Disney. But if you're looking for yes, Disney adults gotta claim that. But I do give the out. I say if
Sure.
you're looking for like a skiing partner or someone to hike with every weekend, I understand objectively where we're not a match. So I
Cool.
always felt like that was fair. Like
Yeah, you would give them the whole, hey, here's the whole rundown. And also, I understand if you lead a more active lifestyle and if this isn't a fit. Yeah.
yeah. So I
What would you get
personally
back?
so I felt it was fair, but so I didn't take the exact, but I would say estimate 70 to 80% of the times I just get ghosted.
Wow. Zero
Yeah,
response to that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. I know. And then, but like, cause the part that frustrated me was like, I just pretend you ski. Like, I live in New England. You know what I mean? But like, ghosting would be the main one. And
Yeah.
then some of the time, it was kind of funny. The ones that didn't care, like, a lot of them were just like, okay, that's fine. Like, no follow up questions, which was nice.
And then you
And
would go on
then
the date.
yes, yes, and then it would proceed most of the time, either disasters for other reasons, not really, but or just regular dating, and
Yeah.
then some of the times they very rarely would they take the oh yeah, I'm looking for a gym buddy. And then I was like, at least they didn't ghost me, and it's funny because then I'd like in my head kind of like low key make fun of them, like, yeah, you need a gym buddy, like but, like but I never said that, I never
Yeah.
have like confronted anyone because I'm like, I don't want to, it's so tough to be like not wanting to represent the whole community. Like, how some
Yes.
people
Yeah.
like do this like group, like, oh, they would avoid more disabled people in the future. So I'm like, very not wanting to go that. And it takes energy too to feel like you're like
Yeah.
disciplining people. So I just move on.
No, the burden of representation is intense. I think about giving the out, which I normally don't recommend people do. Like I say, like, hey, if you're approaching dating and a date or an ask, just ask for what you want, and then let the other person kind of turn you down. In this case, though, I see how maybe even for your own feelings and management, you're kind of like, let me just give you a setup of a story that makes sense to me, which is you want a really active lifestyle, active partner. And if that's your out, cool, and then that works for you. And it's almost like soothing in a way. I never believe in like attacking because somebody isn't into whatever your flavor is, and I'm really glad that you don't either. I think we share similar philosophies. There are all like I think people don't realize number one, most of us or all of us will become disabled at some point in our life. And then number two, it's this like we all have something. that is somebody's like red eject button. All of us do. For me, it's
Yeah.
been things like over time, it became like if you don't have higher education experience, only because I tried dating folks with and without. Current students, I don't mind, but I needed to have that kind of similarity in just like approach to life or background. Someone was opening up a dispensary, and I was like,
Yes.
you know what? It's not that I'm judging, but I have zero interest in that.
Yeah.
And I don't partake. So I
Yeah.
sat
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
kind of like, whoa, if I was to, and I know this is me thinking 85 steps ahead. It's like a lover girl,
Yeah.
whatever. If I
I'm
was to
the
be
same
in,
way. Yeah.
yeah, just if I was to be in relationship with this person, I'm not going to be their cheerleader on opening up a dispensary. I can't even get excited or interested in that. I don't want to hear about that at the dinner table. Like, so I think understanding what your own potential eject buttons are for people happens over time, and I kind of glad that you found yours so that you could have a little bit of not control, because we can't control, but anticipation over some of the experiences that you might start to have with people when you share.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been interesting, like the advice I've gotten from like non-disabled people too, like as far as the disclosing part, because like some people, and I really do appreciate them. I'm like, oh, thank you, you're so naive, but thank you. But like some of like would be like, just show up, and like they'll get to know you, and then I'll be like, yeah, but like if they're gonna reject me before, like why waste all my time getting dressed
Getting to the
up? Yeah,
date,
and
yeah.
then it's like, but then other people are like, just put it on your profile right away. And then my like, which I do now, but like before I was
Okay.
like, well, I don't know, like what you were saying. I'm like, I don't know everything about them. Like, I don't know how much debt they have. Like, they're not giving me that information. Why should I? And and it's like also a thing. It's like I don't want to act like I'm like ashamed of it. Like, you know what I
No,
mean? Like
it's
it's
part of your
so
life.
yeah, so it's like I kind of had those like internal like no, I don't like they're not telling me all their flaws like but then eventually I was less busy when I was doing like the copy and paste. So I had more time to get wasted, but then when I got a little busier getting more into content creation, having fun with that, I was like I will just put it on my profile. So as the Disney
Okay.
adult I am, I put like whatever the prompt is, like something you should know about me, and it was like
Okay.
I can skip the lines at Disney, but it's because I have a muscle
Okay,
disorder. So
cute.
yeah, so
I
then I
see.
added my sarcasm little like, so if that freaks you out, like have fun getting burnt in the lines. So I just had to add it, you know.
I love it because that's just your little flavor. Do you at all feel like pictures are different than disclosing it in writing? So for me, this would be little things. Obviously, you're gonna see that I'm black because I'm giving my photos, but like that I have natural hair. At certain points, I felt like, oh my god, I gotta show him all the versatility of all the hairstyles I've ever had, so that if he kind of thinks, I don't know about her short hair, but you kind of like it long. Well, I could go long. I could be any girl you want me to be. Like, so I had the braids, I had my natural, I had my fro, I had my short, and then eventually I think I kind of condensed it down to just where my hair is at now, which is that I prefer to wear it natural, and I didn't feel the need to include those other photos. Do you feel like you, again, in any way, I know you said it's dynamic, but do you in any way show or disclose like your body, or how do you feel about showing your body in photos?
Yeah, so for me, like, you can't really tell. Like, I don't really have muscles, so you may be like, "What? She doesn't hit the gym." But like, I guess like as far as like a photo, like I could do one with me on my scooter,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and that's something I've like contemplated. Like, but I just put it in words because I don't know, and it's funny like. I try not to have like I like always say like in general like even just like regular social interactions not dating I'm like I try to save people from themselves like I can anticipate when someone's gonna say something that creates an awkward situation so I like try to get ahead of it
Right.
because like I feel like sometimes like the picture would just like leave the door open for questions and it's like if I get asked a question like yeah I've even gotten like on now I have the disclosure up and then like the first question one I've seen like twice it's like do you mind if I ask like what it's called and then it's like
Yeah,
we're
everybody wants to
supposed
know
to be
specifically
yeah, I'm like,
what it
well,
is. Yeah.
technically we're supposed to be like trying to date right now. Like you're not my like doctor, So I'm like, I try not to like open the door too much to like questions,
Okay,
like
yeah. So for
that
people
that
to
are
ask
not like
you up
romantic.
front,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like up front, just asking, what's the exact name of the condition that you have or
Yeah.
disease? Yeah,
I
that's
know,
so
right?
interesting. Because I mean, imagine like asking about somebody's like gastrointestinal
I know.
issues, or or vaginal issues. It's like, whoa, we're really going Kaiser Permanente up in here. This is not, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I love that your comedy kind of shows these scenarios as you've probably had them. So the one with like really low leaning chairs or low sitting chairs where you're like, that's not for me. And then you play the guy, as I also
Yeah.
do in my own reels, who's kind of just like, whoa, I didn't even know it was like that big of a problem for you. I could never do that. I could never live that. I don't know how you deal with it. How do you feel about statements like that? Like, I don't know how you do that. You must be so strong. Like, does that get on
Yeah.
your nerves, or are you just like, I'm desensitized? I hear it all the time.
Yeah, like, that's definitely a thing disabled people, will say they hear a lot, and I think a lot of it depends on the context too, like, if it's, someone's just being the one, "I don't know how you do it," is a little weird because it's almost like saying, if that was me, and, honestly, not to sound like they'd be like, "If that was me, I wouldn't wanna live," and it's like,
Yeah,
"Okay,
yeah.
why are you making my life your, hypothetical nightmare?" Like,
It
that's,
is weird. Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, it is, it's, in a way, it's offensive, but I don't get into conflicts with people about it. Like, in my mind, I'm just like, they're kind of just revealing their weakness. Like, it's not related to me, but in a way, it's kind of just it's like they're like, got the ick, and
Yeah, like
it's
imagine
like,
somebody saying like, if I looked like you, I don't know how I'd navigate this world. Like,
yeah,
come on, what do we do? What do
I
you
know,
say?
I know,
Like, ew.
exactly. Yeah. I
That's so weird.
know.
But your videos, I think, do a
Dating
good job of
unsettled.
breaking down like tiny ways that it can appear on a date. One is you having to disclose it up front or have that conversation of feeling like you're being transparent. There's this whole, especially with people who date men, a feeling of not wanting to gotcha them because they have
Yes.
such straight men, in my lived experience and in the lived experiences of women that I know, have really visceral reactions to feeling like they got if there
Yes.
was something about yourself that you didn't disclose, whether
Yeah.
that's that, whether it's job related, especially body related. Makeup has been a big one. I know you're a Love is Blind fan, so you remember JP kind of coming out of the pods and just being like, your makeup, I don't know, it's the makeup for me. That's why I can't love you, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I love that you're kind of conscious of that. I love and hate it. Like, I
Yeah.
do wish that we could show up and just be our most romantic selves and not have to be like, my hair is short because of this. I am a woman. Like, that was the one thing I would get a lot because my hair is cut. Are you a woman? Are you trans? Are you da 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 da? Someone was like, "Are you were you born a woman? If you were, I'll blank you, no problem. If not, I'm not interested." This was like their
Opener?
opening.
I know, the
Yeah.
openers are what get me. It's like, why do you think someone's gonna respond to that? And,
I'm
unless,
like, ooh, like if I was even interested, even if I was interested in
I
you before,
know.
even that I am born a woman, you will not be hearing from me ever because that type of like the phobias that come out are crazy. I want to
Yeah,
talk to you about infantilization. So this has kind of been a thing, and I don't know if you saw that commercial with the actress with Downs,
I did. I love
or
that,
yeah,
yeah.
okay, yeah. So for those who haven't seen it, there's an actress with Downs in a commercial from a margarita company. They're not paying me, so that's why I'm not naming names or brands. But she is basically at the bar in this commercial saying, if you don't think I can have a margarita, then you're not going to give me a margarita. Then I'm not going to have the time of my life. Then I'm not going to have these romantic experiences. I'm not going to be able to recite Shakespeare if you don't think I can. If you don't teach me, I won't have that experience. So why don't you just teach me? Why don't you just give me the margarita? It's, in my opinion, a genius commercial. It calls out a lot of our biases of what we think people with disabilities, which are a F ton lot of us, both dynamic disabilities, invisible ones. That's a lot of us. And we think different things about people who are deaf, blind, chronically ill. So for her to be like, don't treat me like a baby. And then she was turned into a meme by people who kind of got her, who were like, give me the margarita, or like, me this weekend with my margarita. And I'm like, in my opinion, I don't know what the actress thinks of it, but I would have loved that. Like, because it's like, cool, you get me. I can be a meme. I can be a part of the conversation. This can be comedy. How do you feel about kind of your disability being worked into, I don't know, like part of the joke, or are there ways that people can like not infantilize you? That makes sense. To just
Yeah,
make you
no,
feel like normal.
absolutely. Yeah, because it's like, and it's my experience. It's like every like person has like a different view, but it's like so ingrained in them. That's why I love that campaign. It's all about assumptions, and I loved how it was like assumptions become reality. Like so much of like the conversation with dating is like for me, I date men, so it's like these are my interactions with men, but like the people that surround us can also influence how we feel like in our confidence. Like I, growing up through school, like I wasn't like the one like the boys liked, but like I did go into like have like smaller schools. So it's like I'm like, that's what I'm blaming it on. I was in smaller classrooms. But like it does kind of like affect your confidence because then it's like, well, do I look funny? Like it's like then you question everything, but then
Yeah.
also adding like the disability component of it, like I always try to like remind people a lot, like it's like one thing I advocate for is like talking about like disability culture, disability history, because oftentimes,
Mm.
not always, disabled people are like born into a family where they're the only one with the
Only
disability.
disabled person.
So
Yeah.
and it's like so like my mom, it's funny, like she she was always trying to like set me up like and stuff, and I was always so embarrassed, but like so she always like put in my mind like you're a catch, all this stuff. But it was funny because
Yes.
like she wouldn't always notice like examples like where people were being like, just to be honest, like ableist, like where she wouldn't pick up on it. Like just an example I give is like, so we had like run into like a acquaintance of hers, and
Okay.
my mom like was talking to her, and as I said, she's always trying to set me up, and my mom is so random anyway. This woman's husband worked in a job where he met a lot of men. I'll just say that.
Okay.
So my mom said to her, like, "Oh, tell your husband if he has any nice like
Young
men
man.
he runs
Yeah.
into to like set Danielle up or whatever." And then the woman said, like, she like you could see on her face like she was really like uncomfortable with that like proposition, and she was like, "Well, even a friend for her would be nice." And then like thank you. Yes. And then and then my
A
mom kind of
friend.
I know.
Mom, I'm
And
trying
then
to I'm trying to climb the tree. What are we talking about? A friend?
I I know. And then so like after the
That's
interaction, like
unsettling.
we went on to other topics, and like and then when on the way home I was like to my mom, like, I don't like that lady. And I was in my 20s
Yeah.
at this point. My mom's like, "Why?" And then so she's like, "Oh,
Is
I'm
that what
sure
you
she
sounded
meant
like in
it
your
like
20s?
that."
I don't like that lady, Mom.
Yeah, yes, my voice got dropped, last year. That's why I couldn't go into content creation till last year because I'd get memed.
Stop
But
it.
um,
Stop. Wait,
but
this is such a
yeah,
mind. Yeah. So she didn't feel comfortable setting you up because she's like,
no,
"Oh my God, I can't even think about her in a romantic or sensual or whatever context."
no,
Yeah.
and then like it was also kind of like offensive on two fronts because I'm like, I have friends. Like now you're assuming I don't have friends. Like
Yeah.
you can't even picture me in a relationship. You wouldn't set me up, and never mind, doesn't even have friends. I'm like, I do have friends. Like and
Right.
then
You're
it
like,
was
you're projecting, you don't know how to be around me. And so
yes,
others won't know how to interact around me. And if others, if you can't even fathom being a normal human being around me or not being uncomfortable,
yeah,
you could never fathom someone looking at me in a romantic way or wanting
yes,
partnership with me. Yeah. Which is
yeah.
just her own limitation that she's now projecting onto you.
Yeah, and so I do give that example because, like, when I talk and, just in general, like the men get a lot of heat, but I do think it's like a societal thing that, like, if she's someone's mother, like, that's gonna get passed down, so it's like, it's just a lot of societal
That's
beliefs and
unsettling.
assumptions that need to be challenged.
Yeah. Are there any ways that you, if you feel comfortable sharing, like kind of have been infantilized on dates? Like what are ways that people can consider you, consider what's comfortable of where you can sit, consider the climates or whatever that you might need to be in for your body to feel comfortable without
Yeah,
treating you like
like
a baby?
yeah, like I wouldn't really say like so, but like because I feel like the rejection like impulse is so strong, like especially on the apps, that I hadn't experienced that too much. Like And most of the time it's like respectful, like, oh, is this okay? Like, and they're not like over the top. Like if someone was kind of like over the top, it might make me uncomfortable. Like it was like, because then there's a
Someone's like, my
part of,
queen.
I know, I
What do you
know, I
need?
know.
You want this chair? I have 5 different chairs. You're like, whoa, whoa.
I know. It's like, are you my aunt? Like,
Right.
but yeah, but yeah, no, absolutely. So I will say like, so like because there's I know I'm kind of going off in a little bit of direction, but like, so a lot of people also would assume like, okay, anyone that agrees to go on a date with you is a saint. Like, so they can almost do no wrong. Like, like there is that kind of idea
Yeah.
in society. But I will say, like, because when you said that, like, I didn't experience that, but I did experience someone like, yes, agreeing to go on a date with me, but then their ideas of what it was like to date a disabled person seem like I'll explain. So like,
Yeah, like they
uh,
thought, no, I get it. They think they're almost doing charity
yeah,
or they're
so they
doing you a
felt
favor by agreeing, like, oh, I'm stooping down a level, so you should
yes.
be grateful that I'm even considering you type of thing. And we know that that's
Yeah.
crazy because
Yeah.
everybody want the da-na-na regardless. Okay,
Yeah.
can you explain undiagnosed myopathy? You have that on your Instagram. Is that a joke of yours? Is that a real thing? What is
That's a
undiagnosed
real
myopathy?
thing. Yeah. So that is like, so like when people ask, like, what is your disease? Like, so I just put that there, just kind of like explain, just because my disability, like, it's chronic illness, but then like physical disability. But so myopathy is a muscle disease. So it's undiagnosed, like, even though I'm 29. Like, so I've kind of been on this like undiagnosed journey for so long. So that's why it's even more complicated when I get the question, like, so what's the
Mm,
name of it? It's like, well, it doesn't have a name. It's like, but I have it. It's a super rare
yes.
scenario. So that's why it's like a whole nother can of worms. But I'm in some like clinical trial things to try to, but it's technology hasn't caught up to me. So as a
Got
joke,
it.
I do like to say, so this is like a good thing. Like when I can tell when someone's like comfortable or uncomfortable, like especially with the guys I've said before when this comes up, I'm like, well, so if you think you're ever gonna meet another girl like me, you're definitely not. Because like they can't even
Because I
like
want to win.
exactly.
You're like, because
Exactly.
I want to win and I'm undiagnosed, baby.
Exactly.
They don't even know what I got.
Exactly.
Screaming.
So you will never find anyone like me.
Do you prefer or have you ever thought about I want to date someone who also has a disability so that we can relate or so that there's things that I don't have to explain? Has that ever crossed your mind?
It has, yeah, and there is an app, but when I checked it out once, there wasn't like a lot of people nearby. I have thought about it because people like have asked, and I always say like, I'm kind of open minded to like anyone's like personality, but like, I would personally find it. I know there are successful examples of two people with like similar disabilities. I would personally find it a little challenging because like if it's so similar, like my good days might be on your bad days and it might be hard to like chronic illness wise, and then like if we're
Sync
both
up.
weak it might be hard. Like I just think there would be additional challenges, so I'm not like closing the door. I just like recognize where it would be kind of just almost
Challenging.
logistically difficult. But
Yeah.
as far as like other disabilities, like I have like talked to guys with like limb differences and stuff, but it wasn't like we felt like we had to go out just because we were both disabled. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
we found each other. Now we have
Yeah.
to just get married. But
All
no,
right, so it's
uh,
not like that. Like I'm wondering, do
no,
people ever do that to you? They just find someone else with some other sort of physical difference, and they're like, you know who you'd be really good for? My
I'm
friend is
shocked
who
and
lost
I
his leg.
haven't.
Yeah, like does that ever happen?
I'm shocked it hasn't, but there is like a great comedian. I don't know if you're familiar with her, like Maysoon. I forget what her last name is, but she has
No,
cerebral
I don't know.
palsy. But she was talking
Okay,
about how she got married when she was 33. Like, so she was like, it was hilarious because she was like, I either had to get married or get crucified as a disabled person. And I couldn't stop laughing. And then she was like, said to the people in the audience, like, I bet you're picturing a man with no legs. And so it was funny how she like addressed it, and I thought she did it better than I explained it. I know I explained it quickly, but yeah, so I just appreciate that type of humor. But no, I'm shocked I'm shocked I haven't been attempted to be set up with someone's disabled cousin.
I'm weak. Yeah, I mean, and but you're kind of open to it, but you're not. It's not something you require or that you're even
Mm,
like actively searching for. And then what's
yeah.
the app? what what is the? Do you mind sharing what the app is?
Oh, what the app is? So I believe it's called Dateability, the one for
Okay.
people with disabilities. Yeah,
Yeah.
Dateability.
What's your experience been at that? And are there like people without disabilities there? Is it kind of like exclusive close off?
So like I mostly started on like social media just because I'm like pretty tapped into like the disability community. But unfortunately in my area, and I do live like in the Boston suburbs, like but there wasn't like anyone in my area. So like I don't know if they're like just still trying to launch it. So
Sure.
it wasn't like successful for me. I hope they are successful in the future. I have seen there's just like a general disability like social networking app, not necessarily dating, but launching this
Dating.
summer called the 10% app, which is just like a general social network. I just found that a couple weeks ago. It's that sounds
Hmm.
exciting. But yeah, so just for me, like for apps I've tried, it's mostly like Hinge and Bumble. Like, yeah, so just like the standard ones. I think oh, the league. Yeah, the league I've tried, but not as successful. But I like how it's
The
just like
League
5 a day.
is interesting, but I,
Yeah.
to be honest, I had some great dates on it. Like
Oh, you did. Okay.
yeah, I feel like I actually had an unpopular experience. It was similar to you of a combination of the experiences. I had great dates, great conversations, but there were just very few people
Yes.
that I guess kind of had my background in my area at the time. I
Yeah.
also need to caveat I was dating on The League during the pandemic. So I
Okay.
can only imagine that now, folks have reemerged and are more comfortable meeting each other. Like, even I think any of my dating app or dating experience reviews need to be covered with she was also trying to date during a climate crisis where the
Yeah.
weather there was like smoke outside in California, you couldn't even like
Yes. Oh yeah.
breathe. Yeah, so we
Yeah.
had the fires, so you would open your window to be like orange and smoky, and I'm like on the app scrolling like, okay, so let's see what we can find. Like,
Gotta
my
find something for
priorities.
the end times. Yeah.
Yeah, like I was in a little bit of an escapist mindset. But no, I had
Yeah.
great experiences on The League. I'm wondering, as we kind of get to the end here, what are some like misconceptions that people have about you?
And like so I guess in general, like so one thing I try to do with my like content is I think a lot of people have like the misconception that people with disability like don't have a sense of humor. And and then I think a lot of people think people with disabilities live sad lives, like and it's a tragedy. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I really try to combat that. It's like, yeah, like in the dating world, like it's tough. Like I said, like, my rejection rate just for having a disability was high, but like it has helped me like find like I like what I'm looking for, like is someone that, like views life through like a humorous lens, like, can find the funny in like an everyday situation or find some joy in the day. You need I don't have like a joy sound effect. I'm like when I
No,
say
there's
find some
no
joy in the day, I'm
some
like, oh god,
joy.
I'm
Dating unsettled
so I was
joy.
waiting for it, but then also just kind of like a strong person that can handle things. So, which I think most people would like. That's the point I try to get across. Like people with disability are strong and they're capable and they have a sense of humor and
When
they
you
have
said a strong person who can handle things, I thought you meant like I want someone to put the IKEA bed together. Like,
I
please,
mean,
because I'm
honestly, two birds with one stone. Like, I'll read the
period.
manual. Yeah.
That's
Give me a
unsettling.
man. Give me a man who can
Exactly.
assemble things. I love a man who just gets a little toolbox out and just, oh, I can
Yeah.
do that for you. I love a man who, in the middle of me trying to build something, will just take over. Like, you can't, or give me
Yeah.
that. Or my boyfriend will do that all the time. He'll take stuff from me as I'm like trying to carry it. I actually, I don't. People don't know this looking at me, but my hands are permanently injured.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, it's like another random like thing that may or may not come up.
Yeah.
And so anytime I'm like trying to carry something heavy and try to like thug it out, he'll kind of just show up and like, just give me that. I'm like,
Yeah.
thank you. I needed
Y-
that.
Yeah, it's like you don't want to ask for it, but it's like a bonus when it happens. Yes. I
Very,
love
very
that.
much so.
Yeah.
And then I'm wondering, just to end this off here, do you have any like positive experiences in dating? It doesn't have to be even related to disability, but just like any little butterfly moments or anything that you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I'm single, so I wish I had like a better story now. But I'm like, I don't want to be one of those people that like only will talk about it when they like have like the happy ending. I'm like,
Correct.
yeah, I feel like there's a lot of fun to be had along the way, and like just meeting new people. Like everyone doesn't have to be the one. Like you can meet good people, and I like that saying like everyone in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, you know. So
Mhm.
so I've definitely met some good guys that have like, you know, when you kind of get in that mindset like, oh men are horrible, it's like, well, you know, that guy was nice, we just didn't match. And you know, and it's funny because sometimes like when I'll go out with a guy like and then I'll be the one to be like, yeah, I don't really think like another
This
date
is
is
a
like a good
fit.
choice. And then when they take it so well, I'm like, oh, did I make the right choice? They got rejected so nicely. You know what I mean? Like in society, we're like kind of afraid, I think, sometimes as women to reject men. So it's like,
Yes.
you know, so I like feeling like I released a good one out and then, you know, out into the world, and I hope they find their match. So, and then, you know, it's nice when they wish the same for me. So
That's so warm and fuzzy. Well, Danielle, it's been incredible to have you on. I really enjoyed this. Thank you, everyone, for listening to Dating Unsettled. You can follow me at Dating Unsettled or at JoyOfodu so you don't miss an episode of your new favorite show. Make sure to subscribe on all podcast platforms. Dating Unsettled. You can also follow Danielle on Instagram at DanielleEvates. Just look in my following or followers for Danielle. We're also going to post and tag her on the Dating Unsettled socials so that you can get at all her funny comedic goodness. Thank you so much for listening, Unsettlers. Go out there, dream, update me on your dating lives, and have a great week.
Dating unsettled.